Right now, somewhere in the Gulf of Oman, an oil tanker is holding position. Its captain is waiting for one phone call. That call will either earn his company $200 million or cost the global economy $2 trillion. And it all traces back to a single announcement that Donald Trump just made. Trump has declared a 2-week ceasefire, but it comes with a condition that almost nobody in the mainstream media is talking about. The Strait of Hormuz must reopen. And that one sentence has just redrawn the entire map of global power, money, and military strategy. Let us be absolutely clear about what the Strait of Hormuz actually means. This narrow passage, at its tightest point, only 21 miles wide, carries roughly 21% of the world's traded oil. Nearly a third of all liquefied natural gas shipments pass through this single choke point. If it closes, the economic shock does not arrive in weeks. It arrives within hours. Fuel prices spike. Shipping insurance rates triple overnight. Global supply chains seize up, and central banks around the world start making emergency calls. This is not just a geopolitical story. This is a financial detonation event dressed in diplomatic language. Now here is what you need to understand about Trump's move. A ceasefire announcement of 2 weeks is not a peace deal. 2 weeks is a pressure window. It is a countdown clock designed to force the other side into a corner before the deadline becomes a headline. Trump has done this before, in trade negotiations, in the Abraham Accords, in his approach to North Korea. He creates urgency, attaches a price, and watches who blinks. But this time, the stakes are an order of magnitude higher. Because the party on the other side of this equation is not just a military adversary, it is a regime that controls the valve on the world's most critical energy artery, and they know exactly what that valve is worth. Let us talk about the money behind this ceasefire, because this is where it gets truly extraordinary. In the weeks leading up to this announcement, something unusual happened in the global oil futures market. Brent crude and WTI saw an abnormal spike in options activity, specifically in out-of-the-money call options, betting on a dramatic price surge. At the same time, bond yields in certain Gulf sovereign wealth funds moved in a pattern that experienced traders would recognize immediately. Someone, somewhere, positioned aggressively ahead of this announcement. That is not speculation. That is the market leaving fingerprints. Meanwhile, the shipping industry has been in quiet crisis mode. War risk insurance premiums for vessels transiting anywhere near the strait have risen by as much as 600% since early this year. Lloyd's of London underwriters have been in emergency committee sessions. The largest shipping conglomerates, Maersk, MSC, Evergreen, have already been rerouting vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, adding 12 to 16 days to every journey and costing the global economy an estimated $4.2 billion per month in additional logistics costs alone. $4.2 billion per month just in rerouting costs. And now Trump is saying, reopen the strait, and we pause the military pressure for 2 weeks. Think about what that means to a CEO in Tokyo, or a refinery operator in Rotterdam, or a finance minister in Seoul. Their entire energy import strategy has been built around the assumption that the strait remains functional. The moment that assumption was threatened, contingency planning went into overdrive. Emergency reserves were activated. Long-term LNG contracts were renegotiated. Countries that had diversified away from Gulf oil started looking very prescient. And countries that had not were suddenly extremely exposed. Now here is the strategic chess game playing out beneath the surface. Trump's 2-week window is not arbitrary. It aligns almost precisely with a set of critical international energy contract renewal dates. Several of the largest national oil companies in Asia, which collectively import over 40% of Gulf crude, have contracts up for renegotiation in the next 30 days. If the strait remains closed or threatened when those contracts renew, the price terms will be catastrophic for the Gulf producers. They will either accept punishing discounts to keep buyers or lose those buyers to alternative suppliers entirely. Suppliers in the United States, in West Africa, in Canada. American energy exporters stand to gain enormously from a prolonged strait closure, which raises a question that every serious analyst is now asking. Is this ceasefire designed to succeed, or is it designed to expire? Because if the strait does not reopen within 2 weeks, Trump has the political and legal architecture already in place to escalate. The military assets are positioned, the congressional authorizations are being drafted, and the energy producers who stand to benefit from an extended period of Middle Eastern instability, many of whom are major donors and political allies, have been very quiet, conspicuously quiet. At the same time, there is a parallel diplomatic track moving in the background. Intelligence sources in 3 separate capitals have indicated that quiet negotiations have been happening for weeks through intermediaries in Oman and Qatar. The public announcement of a ceasefire with conditions is often the final stage of a deal, not the beginning. It means the outlines of an agreement may already exist. The 2 weeks may simply be the time needed for domestic political cover on both sides. If that is true, then what you are watching right now is theater with a predetermined script, a performance of brinkmanship designed to let every side claim victory. The Gulf can say they negotiated under pressure and protected their sovereign interests. Trump can say he forced a resolution, and the global economy gets its shipping lanes back. But here is the prediction that no mainstream outlet will make directly. Whether this ceasefire holds or collapses, the world has just learned something it will not forget for a generation. The Strait of Hormuz is not a permanent guarantee. It is a lever. And anyone who holds that lever holds the entire global economy hostage. That lesson will reshape infrastructure investment, energy policy, and military spending for the next 20 years. We are already seeing the early signals. Japan has accelerated its LNG terminal expansion to reduce dependence on straight transit supplies. India has quietly fast-tracked overland pipeline negotiations with Central Asian suppliers. Europe, still reeling from its Russian energy dependency lesson, is now modeling strait closure scenarios into its 5-year energy security frameworks. The United States, meanwhile, has massively increased LNG export capacity over the last 3 years, positioning itself as the supplier of last resort if Gulf flows are ever truly cut off. The money is already moving to reflect this new reality. Renewable energy infrastructure stocks have spiked. Defense contractors have seen a quiet but significant uptick in institutional buying. Pipeline infrastructure companies in Central Asia are suddenly receiving calls from sovereign wealth funds that were not calling 6 months ago. This is how major geopolitical events actually reshape the financial world. Not with a dramatic crash that everyone sees, but with a slow repricing of risk that most people miss entirely until it is years in the rearview mirror. And that is exactly why you are watching WarFinex. Because by the time this story makes sense to the average viewer, the money will already have moved. We are here to watch it move in real time. If you are not subscribed yet, this is the moment to do it. Because the story we just unpacked is one thread in a much larger web. And in our next video, we are going to trace exactly where the money flows if this ceasefire collapses. The assets that will surge, the currencies that will be under immediate pressure, the countries that are most exposed. It is the financial map of the worst-case scenario, and it is information that most people simply do not have access to. Subscribe now so you are there when we drop it. Hit the notification bell, and share this video with anyone who thinks this story is just about politics. It is not. It never was,